Batman Arkham Origins. Probably the most underrated Batman Arkham game. But is it compatible with the faith? Tune in to find out. Welcome everyone to another episode on the Catholic Quest YouTube channel. Today, we'll be taking a look at Batman Arkham Origins and whether or not a Christian should be playing this game. And yes, you heard me right at the opening. This is a criminally underrated game within the Batman Arkham community. I'll probably get a lot of hate for that. I don't care. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's the worst one in the series, not counting Blackgate, but it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Sure, it's glitchy sometimes, and the devs added in some things to Batman's arsenal of tools that made much of the combat and stealth trivial, but the story was actually quite compelling, albeit a bit simple. It's a straightforward plot, but sometimes it's nice playing a superhero game and seeing a bunch of villains. You're playing as Batman on Christmas Eve when you discover that a bounty for $50 million has been placed on your head. Uh-oh. In classic Batman fashion, it's time to go beat up some thugs and break the law in the name of justice. The game puts you in situations where you have to fight the police force, act as a judge, jury, and executioner, threaten and even beat the truth out of criminals, etc. Batman is a deeply flawed character, especially in this game where he doesn't know the limits of what he can or should do yet. Obviously he's scarred by his past, and he's working through that. He's 2 years into his nightly escapades, and has not yet encountered these bigger villains, such as Bane, Killer Croc, and more. He dislikes the police due to their corruption, and beats them up with little regard to investigating which ones actually are corrupt. Granted, many of them seem to be corrupt based on some of their conversations, but still, a little investigation would have helped. Obviously he's breaking the law, and comes in conflict with the police force, including Commissioner Gordon, who is trying to bring him in. There is a reason why being a vigilante is illegal. You endanger yourself and others, and you rip away their right to a fair trial. How is this any different than the police? Well, the police are deputized, granting them the ability to bring in criminals, so long as they follow certain criteria which are in place to protect the rights and dignity of everyone involved. Batman doesn't show any such reservations. He will do anything and everything to bring in criminals, as long as it doesn't involve killing anyone or endangering innocent people. Sure, the desire to not kill his enemies is admirable, but that doesn't mean his entire moral code is flawless. He will break the bones of many of his enemies without hesitation. Need some information? Time to choke a guy, accidentally knock him out, then dangle him off a building to get the info he needs. And then drop him off into a tree so that he's hurt, but not dead. As St. Paul says regarding the law in Romans 13, verse 1 through 7, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore he who resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of him who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. He is the servant of God to execute his wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore one must be subject not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For the same reason you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay all of them their dues, taxes to whom taxes are due, revenue to whom revenue is due, respect to whom respect is due, honor to whom honor is due." Considering that, Batman should try working within the law, not against it. He's constantly running away from law enforcement due to his disregard of the law. Besides that, he also acts as if he's an island, allowing no one to help him on his mission, with the exception of Alfred. You've probably heard the phrase, "we are social creatures," a million times. But it's true. We desire human interactions within the context of a variety of different relationships. Friendship, marriage, co-workers. As we journey through this life, we rely on those around us for so many things. Think of your life and how often you rely on the help of others. Of course we rely on God for everything, but we also rely on our parents as kids, and on our adult children as elderly parents. We rely on the police to keep us safe, on the government to guarantee our rights, our friends to be there when we need them, doctors to provide the proper diagnosis, teachers to teach, truck drivers to deliver our food to the local supermarket, priests to celebrate the sacraments, so on and so forth. I could list all day. Sure, the cops in this game don't want to work with Batman. He is technically a criminal by virtue of his vigilantism, after all. But I get the feeling that Batman doesn't want to either. Listen to what Exodus chapter 18, verse 13 through 23 has to say. This takes place right after the Exodus story in the Bible in which Moses leads the Israelites out of Egypt. Here Moses sits down to judge the cases that the people bring to him. The next day Moses sat to judge the people, and the people sat about Moses from morning till evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he was doing for the people, he said, "What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone, and all the people stand about you from morning till evening?" And Moses said to his father-in-law, "Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a dispute, they come to me, and I decide between a man and his neighbor, and I make them know the statutes of God and his decisions." Moses' father-in-law said to him, "What you are doing is not good. You and the people with you will wear yourselves out, for the thing is too heavy for you. You are not able to perform it alone. Listen now to my voice. I will give you counsel, and God be with you. You shall represent the people before God, and bring their cases to God. And you shall teach them the statutes and the decisions, and make them know the way in which they must walk, and what they must do. Moreover, choose able men from all the people, such as fear God, men who are trustworthy and who hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as rulers of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens, and let them judge the people at all times. Every great matter they shall bring to you, but any small matter they shall decide themselves. So it will be easier for you, and they will bear the burden with you. If you do this, and God so commands you, then you will be able to endure, and all this people also will go to their place in peace." So a little bit of a longer passage there, but the point is, even in Scripture, we see advice given to let other people help you. You can't tackle life alone. That's a very lonely journey. Anyways, enough about Batman. There are some really bad people in this game. I'm talking death and destruction for the sake of money kind of bad. I don't want to spoil the game, but I will say that these people have no qualms holding hostages, employing criminals to do their bidding, and so on. If we ignored the issues with Batman's character, there is a very clear line regarding who is good and who is bad. The game portrays multiple people being shot, tortured, electrocuted, falling to their death, etc. There is some bad language, but I barely noticed it, to be honest, since it was infrequent, from what I recall. The Penguin makes an impious sexual joke involving a nun, which really I thought was inappropriate. Some women are immodestly dressed, so be careful about that. But compared to much of media these days, the game is actually not horrible in terms of moral concerns for the player. Alright, let's also look at the good now. Batman is Batman. If you like Batman, you'll like this version too, most likely. He doesn't kill, which is admirable. His desire for justice and stopping criminals is truly something that should resonate with most people, even if he doesn't pursue it in the proper way. In fact, he often seems to conflate justice and vengeance. Alfred is shown as compassionate and caring, which is nice to see in an otherwise darker toned game. Gordon, of course, is a fantastic cop who seeks to uphold the law and bring people to justice. So there are a few good role models, just not many. Justice is perhaps the word that would describe the general direction and goal of the story. Isn't that the case with many Batman stories? But here it's more blurred as it tries to introduce its cast of characters. Batman seems more focused on vengeance, but can he overcome that? His anger is taking a hold of him. Can he get to the point of seeking justice, not just retribution? Overall, I would give this a 7 out of 10 for its compatibility with the faith. There's not usually anything majorly problematic in the game, but it can be difficult to draw certain moral lines here and there. Obviously, the bad guys are bad. But what about the main good guy? Is he really good? Or is he more so hypocritical and actually morally compromised in a way? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Anyways, thank you everyone so much for watching. If this helped you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, open up the door when Christ comes knocking. Bye-bye.